Hello everyone and welcome to this Google Digital Garage training session all about social media strategy. Good afternoon, 1:30 here in Liverpool. Hope you're having a fabulous day. My name's Kirsty. I'm a trainer for Google's free skills training program, Google Digital Garage. I've been working in this industry now for around 7 years and I absolutely love working with startups, local businesses and small businesses to get their foot in the virtual door and really start to know how they can get started online with their business. But I'm not here alone. In the chat, we do have our lovely moderator today, Benedict. Benedict is also a Google Digital Garage mentor and coach and will be in the chat today answering any questions that you have, but also there to share any links or anything that's useful as we move through today's session. Now, I'm going to run through a little bit of housekeeping, but what I'd absolutely love for you to do is say hello in that chat, introduce yourself, let us know where you're signing in from today, why are you here, what really attracted you when it came to seeing the title Social Media Strategy. Do you have a business? Are you thinking of starting a business? Let us know a little bit about you. I would absolutely love to be able to come back to that and see as many of you as possible, because I can't see you and I can't hear you, but I can talk to you, and so can Benedict via that chat. So while you do that, I'm going to run through a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, if you have any trouble hearing or seeing this webinar, please do try refreshing the browser. Sometimes get a few gremlins in the system and it's nice and simple, that age-old turn it off and on again, and hopefully you'll be back with us. If you'd like to join in with that chat that I was just talking about and you're not sure where it is, if you're on a computer, a desktop, then it should be to the right-hand side of this video. You should be able to scroll through that. If you're on a mobile device, you'll either see it below the video, or you might see that you've got a few tab options like Q&A or chat, video, where you can scroll through and select the obvious or the relevant tabs. You will need to make sure you're signed into your YouTube account, but that should be nice and simple for you with a sign in button, and we'll see you there in the chat. Finally, to let you know, this is not a standalone session. If this is your first Google Digital Garage training session, then it's absolutely about to blow your mind. So in the description of this video, just below, there is a link there to the upcoming schedule, where you can start to have a look at any of the upcoming sessions that we've got happening as part of the Google Digital Garage schedule. So I think that is all the housekeeping. There are also captions running. So if you're someone that would like to use captions today, hover over that YouTube video. You'll see the little button that says CC for closed captions, and you should be able to make use of those captions as well. So let me have a look before I move into the session on who's saying hello. Oh, we've got loads of hellos. Thank you very much for getting involved. It's so nice when I can see who is out there. So Claire, hello to you. A social media manager, joined the webinar to enhance your skills. And you always learn something new on these calls. Yeah, absolutely. Welcome, Claire. Welcome. Martin, hello. Oh, and you're from Bridlington. Claire, I've actually been to Bridlington. My friend moved there with her husband last year, so I know where that is. Welcome. Then we've got Iona. Hello, Iona Illustrations in France. Nice. A children's book illustrator, joining this webinar because social media is not really my strong point, and I hope I can learn more. Amazing. And also we've got Devdutt here from India, and I think I've already given a shout out to Martin from the United Arab Emirates there as well. Thank you so much, all of you, for saying hello. If you haven't said hello, you were feeling a bit shy, and now you've seen that you've got a live shout out, please do. Please say hello. I absolutely love that. Claire, yep, always usually get asked where it is. Yeah, I know where it is. Welcome. And they got Fulia there as well. Welcome. Okay, so how are we going to separate this session? 3 parts. We're going to start by thinking about how we can actually use social media to grow for a business. Starting at the very beginning, starting to think about why it's important. And I am going to throw that out there as well. So I'm going to ask you a few questions around that so that we're getting some of those answers and keeping that chat nice and busy for Benedict too. The middle part, we're actually going to walk through the most important part of this session, which is a step-by-step social media strategy that's going to help you put together an action plan, something you can take away and really get going with after this session, but also something that's going to enable you to make room for measuring. Really important. You might hear data, collect the data, analyze the data a lot in this industry. So we're going to hopefully point you in the right direction for getting started with what data is the right thing to look at within your strategy and how do you take that forward from the most important thing, and that's action. And finally, we're also going to break down and leave you with a little bit of tips and a few tools for your toolbox when it comes to those best practices around social platforms. Now, before I jump into part one of this session, the last thing I want to highlight to you is this great opportunity to book a one-to-one mentoring session with a Google Digital Garage mentor and coach. Take down that link. I'm sure Benedict's going to pop this into the chat for you. Now, for those of you that are here from an international audience, this link is unfortunately open to UK businesses, charities, sole traders only. However, when you go onto the site, there are other options. If you have a look around, I'm sure you can Google options for mentoring for different parts of the world. There are different things out there. Maybe have a look at something like Digital Boost, which might be able to help you on a mentoring front. Other than that, let's jump in. So first question to you. Tell me in the chat, tell Benedict and I in the chat, how can social media help grow a business? Why should we, as business owners, think about creating a social media channel? Anything in the chat. Could be nice, simple, one-word answers. If you've got kind of a little bit more detail, definitely throw that out there. I'd love to know. And while you're doing that, some stats for you. 44 million active social medias just in the UK. That's a lot of people, right? When you start to think about all the different platforms that exist, when you start to understand where your audience exists in that social world, we can start to come back to that question. Why, as a business, am I going to benefit from getting onto a social media platform? And on average, people are spending up to 2 hours, just under 2 hours, on any given device on social media. I mean, 2 hours a day, that's average. I'm sure there's a few of you in the chat that definitely would look at 2 hours and go, ooh, that's a bit low for me. I know I do. Yeah, feel free to drop an emoji if you think 2 hours, you spend way over 2 hours on any given social media channel. I can see a couple of answers coming through there. So we've got May there, can spread a wider net of awareness of a brand. Absolutely. And you've also added to that, reach more people, because most people spend a lot of time on social media. Yeah. So we've got the ability to create this awareness for our business. And we're going to talk in the strategy on how we can do that. And Claire, over 90% of the population use social media, and it is worth being present where your customers spend most of their time. Yes, absolutely. So being present in a space where you know your specific audience is. Yes, yes, yes. And David there, getting customer reviews, brackets, good ones. Yeah, but also think about it. Even when you get negative reviews, or maybe not so positive, there might not be complaints, they just might not be as good as you want them to be. There's a potential there to communicate with a client that's taken the time to message you or review your business, where you can kind of open that means of communication, which we're going to talk about, and turn them into a brand ambassador. So even if you do receive any form of negative review, there's always the opportunity to really make a connection there as well. And finally, last one before I move on, Zafani there, audience from your social media can turn into your customers and make your brand known. Absolutely. So we can use it almost like a bridge, right? Almost like this platform that's going to drive people with a certain goal to a certain place elsewhere. Great. Thank you so much again for taking part in the chat there. But you're right, we can use social media as a business to generate sales because we're reaching audiences and actually new audiences. Just like Claire said in the chat, up to 90%, I think, of our UK population are on a social media platform, right? It's a really great place that we can start to connect with new customers, existing customers. We can start to create business opportunities with those customers in different ways that we wouldn't necessarily create if we were only in a bricks and mortar store or we only had our website. So it opens up new ways to do business. When we're looking at the paid side of social media, we also have that opportunity to really niche down and start to target depending on who our customers are. And because of all of these, we're continuously starting to build relationships. I mean, it's social media. The clue is in the name, right? People are on socials looking for almost that kind of two-way conversation, that connection that's not just a website that gives me information. It's a platform where I can fully interact with this business, this brand, this designer, this influencer, whatever it is. So we can use it to generate more sales. We can use it to add value to our brand. Again, we're using other elements in our kind of digital presence, things like chatbots, things like reviews on different platforms, to add this value and understanding, this almost this social proof to what we do. So adding our social platforms to that, we can respond, we can use it to raise those customer service levels. We can, again, what I said earlier about starting that two-way conversation, making our customers feel like they have that real engagement back and forth with who we are as a business. We can also show this new side to our business. So you can almost create these behind the scenes connections that shows more than just that front shop window, but a little bit more personality and a little bit more about the people that are actually working within your business. And you can build a community. You know, some of the most successful brands in the world, look at how fierce the fans of those brands defend the brands that they love. And you have the opportunity to create your own community of super fans, of brand advocates, people that are going to talk positively about your brand and your business, your products, your service, what you do in a room, even when you're not there. And with socials, you have the opportunity to do that. So overall, using the social media can start to improve what you've got going on with your marketing. Those platforms, again, how many of you have Googled a business or a product that you're researching or you're interested in and you're thinking about following up on, and one of the things that you see in search is the social media channel? I was working with a jewelry brand this morning, and we were having a look at kind of how they were performing in search. And one of their results in that first page of Google, when you Googled their brand name and also some of their product specific keywords, was their Instagram profile. So by utilizing these platforms, you can improve how you can get noticed in a search engine, which in turn may help you attract more people to your site if that's your goal. We can start to gain insight, again, this data word, insights. Each of these platforms come with their very own set of data, this very own set of analytics, where we can start to really understand who our audience is, where they're coming from, where they are connecting with us, and what they're doing. You know, are they going through to our TikTok shop? Are they going through to our website? What are they doing once they hit our social page? It doesn't matter what platform you're on. And a little cheeky one there, we can use it to keep an eye on our competitors. We can use it to understand how other people in our industry are engaging with their customers that could have a crossover with what we want to do. So putting all this together, when we're thinking about creating a social media strategy, we want to ask ourselves, okay, why are we posting? So are the social media posts there to drive traffic to the website? Is that one of your goals? What kind of posts and updates do people want to see? Do you have anyone following you that is influential in your industry? Is there anyone that you could potentially look at connecting with and partnering with? And when's the best time? Whether that is time of the month, time of the day, time of the week, when's the best time to engage with an audience that you know is your target audience? So before I pause for questions, if you have any, please do pop them in the chat. Think about it. We have very short attention spans, decreasing every day. On average, our human attention span is around 8 seconds. However, when someone is in a doom scroll on any platform, anybody started using Threads yet? Another place for me to doom scroll. And because it's not quite decided how it's going to show me anything or what it's going to show me, I could be on there endlessly. It's actually madness. But when we're in that frame of mind, when we're in that process, right, our attention span potentially can drop to around 3 seconds. 3 seconds to stop that thumb. 3 seconds for you as a business to go and capture your audience's attention. And there's lots of competition. So it's not just our attention spans, but it's also all the other things that are competing for that attention span. So again, it's starting to think about, how can you stand out? Are you super sure on who your brand is and who your audience is, who you're trying to cater for, and on which specific platform that audience hangs out? And we'll come to that in a second. And it's really interesting because this next point, it's not always free. Really important to remember, even when you're using what we call organic posting, free posting, right? Building organic reach can be really hard, because even though you're posting and you have a set of followers, it's under 1% of those followers that are actually going to see what you post. So it's really interesting, because this is where having a paid ad strategy around the platforms that you're using can become really, really useful when it comes to investing to grow who you want to be engaging with that platform in your business. Now, we do have a great session called Get Started with Digital Advertising, where we start to talk about social ads. What we're focusing on in this session today is the strategy of getting your profile, branding your profile, and starting to post organically. But even with this organic posting, it's free to post, but we have a massive resource that it's going to still take to create something that's consistent and quality. And that resource is time. Time is still something we have to spend in order to see great results. So it's about making sure, when we get into this strategy in the middle section in a second, you're making those really clear decisions based on all the resources you have available to you. And once it's public, it's public. I'm sure all of you in this call today can recall a time where someone has pointed out a brand that's made an oopsie online and tried to remove it, tried to delete it, but there's always a screenshot. There's always someone out there that has seen it. And especially if you're a larger business as well. I mean, one of the most memorable ones to me more recently was last year with Burger King. I don't know if anyone saw this. This was here in the UK. So Burger King in the UK, they had an initiative running for International Women's Week. And they started the week with a tweet that said, "Women belong in the kitchen, ... with no explanation." Now, this individual tweet, which was actually part of a thread, went viral. It was a big oopsie, especially at the time that it was posted, right? International Women's Week. But actually their intention behind that tweet, it was part of a thread where they'd opened up funded places to get more women into professional chefing, because they were playing, so Claire's, I remember that. They were playing on the stereotype, relevant, and trying to spin that into a positive thread on Twitter. It didn't quite land for them. So a nice fun example of an oopsie there. So you can all start to think of PR disasters, they happen, unfortunately. But sometimes it's about how we make sure that everything we're posting is part of what we are. So we understand our brand, we understand what words we use. And if these things do happen, we can follow through again. I mean, Aldi are a perfect example of how to have an oopsie and follow through with such a clear personality. If Aldi was walking down the street, you would very clearly know what type of person Aldi was. So go and have a look at some of these bigger businesses and check out how they're handling creating this personality, this tone of voice, this way of communicating. And I can see Claire's written there, having a strategy plan in place can really help with time management. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. So I can see I've got a question there from Mayu. How do you find out the best times? Do we test posts at different timings and use the analytics through that? Yeah, so there's a couple of ways that you can do it. Now, there are so many blogs that you can check out as if you're completely blank with no understanding of when people are online. There are plenty of resources where you can start to see the kind of generic most common times people are on specific platforms. However, it is going to be relevant to you, your industry, who you're targeting, and who it is you want to get in front of, depending on what's going to be your best times. So again, one of the things in the strategy that we're going to talk about is getting together a really clear audience, a niche target audience, 2 to 3 personas that you believe are your ideal market. Now, this can grow. It doesn't always have to stay at 2 to 3, but who are the 2 to 3 priority niche audience that you want to get in front of for your market? Now, if I said to you that even in a very top level understanding of someone, if I said to you, my primary target are new mums who have just gone back to work after maternity and they use Facebook. If I was thinking of posting on Facebook at 9 a.m. in the morning, am I potentially gonna get any traction from those views? But maybe not. So it's about starting to think about the lifestyle of your audience as well. Start there, and then exactly what you said, you can start posting and building that up and approaching it with that real playful nature, so that you can start to look at the data, look at what's working, look at what posts at what time seem to get the most response. And then you can always test that. And that might change slightly over time. It might change due to seasons as well. So in the summer, you might find that people are looking later, whereas in the winter, when it's dark, especially here in the UK, when it's dark, people are not out so late after work. So that could also change depending on the time of the year and who you're posting for, and the platform obviously as well. So really think about, when we come to audience, the behaviors that type of person would have when it comes to that platform that you're wanting to use. So I can't see any more questions. Oh, you're welcome, Mayo, I can say that. Can't see any more questions, but I will be pausing 2 more times before we finish today. So feel free, pop them in there. Benedict is in there to answer any other questions as well. So he'll share his knowledge as we move through too. So the nitty gritty, my favourite part of this session, building that social media strategy. So what we've done here is we've put together 5 steps. If you've never put together a plan before and you're brand new to creating a strategy, then you can start with these 5 steps and you can always build on them. You can always kind of create offshoots and start to think about what else you can add to your very own strategy. But as a basic setup, take a picture of this slide because it can really help you get started. The first step, and we're going to break these down step by step, is building that audience, defining exactly who you want to get in front of, and as detailed as possible as well. Step 2 of your strategy is to set goals. Define exactly what you want to achieve with your online presence. Now you'll notice that step 2 says business goals, and that's going to become clearer when we break these down. As a business, what do you want to achieve? Usually the answer to that is going to involve sales, building an audience. It's going to really revolve around making more money. And our job as marketers is to translate those business goals into online goals. So how can we make sure that everything we're aiming for on these different social channels are feeding into these overarching business goals? Apologies if you can hear any screaming children in the back garden. It seems like they're in the neighbours outside and I've got the window open. It's quite distracting. So then the next step, part 3, is to pick your platforms. We don't need to be on every single platform for the business that we're in. Again, that comes back to thinking about your goals and your audience, thinking about what you want to achieve and where that audience is. Now, I'm on every single platform, honestly, but it's part of my job, right? But when I think about the mindset that I'm in, if I go onto Instagram, what I look at, what I like, what I communicate with, is not the same thing that I would communicate with and in the same mindset if I was on a platform like Instagram, like LinkedIn. My Instagram brain and my LinkedIn brain are going to be very different. And it's going to be the same for your consumers in regards to how they communicate with your business. Step 4, finding that social voice. What's the personality of your business? Really important. I've already mentioned Aldi. They have got it down. They're very clear on who they are. So thinking about your tone of voice. And finally, how can we decide what success looks like? What kind of milestone checkpoints can we put into place so that we know we're achieving the goals that we set out for ourselves on these platforms? So breaking these down, and again with the screaming children, breaking these down, step 1, audience. Defining who your audience is. Now, what I mean by this is breaking it down into the absolute detail. Where are they? And that can mean geographically, but it also can mean where are they in terms of your actual profiles. You know, maybe you've put a lot of effort into a platform like Facebook, but actually all of your audience where you can actually start to gain some traction, maybe they're actually on a platform like LinkedIn and you're working more business to business and not business to consumer. Tell me in the chat, how many of you have more than maybe 2 social media platforms for your business so far? Tell me in the chat. Because if you have even 3, 4, 5, and you're a small business, you're a startup, do you effectively communicate across all of these platforms? Do you communicate on every single one of those platforms with an individual strategy and individual content that's built for a specific audience on each of those platforms? Usually the answer when I ask that is no. So step one, who are they? What interests them? What influences them? Who else do they follow? What time of the day are they online? Think of their lifestyle and really break down even things like their age range. There might be two people that have a really similar sort of step by step. Maybe they have a similar career, they have a similar, maybe they're the same gender, maybe they're both married, maybe they both have two kids. But then if you look at the catchment area they live in, or you look at the age range, there might be even small nuance difference. Like this person is older, is married with two kids, lives in a similar area, similar industry, but uses Facebook. Whereas this person has all of these bits, but their age range is younger and their go-to platform is TikTok or Instagram. So again, initially, when you build this step one, if you've never looked at any data before, you might start some of these questions with your assumptions and your sort of stereotype understanding of who you think your audience is. And that's okay to begin with. But what's important with these personas is that you revisit them. You start to analyze data, use the insights on each of those platforms, and start to understand, okay, so I thought my audience was this and I built this target persona. Who am I actually receiving into my channel? And I can see there, Claire, I'm on the wall, but my LinkedIn is suffering at the moment. Yeah. And do you know what? I think it's really common when you work in socials or you work in marketing at all, really, that you spend a lot of time kind of perfecting other businesses and other individuals' socials, that when it comes to your own, it definitely suffers. I feel you with that. It's kind of like a battle, right, in terms of the day-to-day work. And then we've got Iona there. I'm on more than two, but it feels very hard to be consistent. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's really important, that word consistent, because socials and building that traction, it's all about consistency. It's all about how can you create quality over quantity consistently. And at first, consistency might look, and I mean, this is an extreme, but consistency might look as you posting once a week. Obviously, the more you post, the quicker you're going to see any form of growth. But if you realistically can only post quality content once a week for the first however many months that you're getting going, start there. Because it's like a recipe. You can always add salt. But once you've tipped in the whole pot, it's really hard to remove it. It's really hard to kind of sieve it out. And once it's dissolved, it's like, and everything goes to everything goes to messy. I don't know what phrase I'm looking for there. So around, if you've not got any of these data platforms, speak to real people. If you've had a few existing customers, drop them an email. Hey, how did you find me? Hey, would you mind answering 2 or 3 questions? I'm doing a little bit of market research. So learn more about your customers as you get them, if you're only just engaging with customers at the moment. Start to identify segmentations. So you might have your overall persona, but then you notice that even though this person is your persona, within that persona group, there's certain segmentations of products or services that different people have a focus on. So you can start to segment these groups of people that are interested in specific things, and that's going to help focus anything you do within your marketing. Another thing you can also do is start to build up online surveys. Now, again, you might not get the return that you want on some of these things, and it can be challenging to collect survey results. But something simple, 2 to 5 questions in something like SurveyMonkey or Google Forms can allow you to start to collect some valuable data that, again, you can use as an actionable. And that's really what's important with any of these insights, with any of the platforms that you're looking at, the analytics. What's super important is what action can you take from that? Now, we do have a session all about analytics where we spend the whole hour talking about how to ask the right questions and search for the right answers. And that process is really important, to not get overwhelmed by all the figures that we have at our fingertips. But insights come from all platforms. You've got your Meta insights, you've got your TikTok insights, you've even got YouTube analytics and Google business profile insights. Like, all of these individual platforms come with built-in analytics, as well as the link that Benedict's just popped in the chat there, platforms like Google Analytics itself. Step 2 of your strategy, once you've understood who your audience is and you've started really thinking about that in some detail, the next step that you can start to think about is, what are you wanting to do with these platforms? So first of all, what's your goal? What's your business goal? Is it to raise your customer service? Is it to grow your brand awareness? Is it to grow sales? What's your goal? Feel free in the chat, if you're up for sharing, don't be shy. Do you have a business goal right now, a top level goal that you're looking to achieve? Whether that is sales, bookings, clients. Do you have an overarching goal that's driving you at the moment? Tell Benedict in the chat, and I'm sure he'd love to read through some of those. And sometimes when we share it, it holds that accountability as well in a public space like live. It kind of solidifies, yeah, this is what I want to achieve. So if the first step is to define what you want to do as a business. And you might have 2 or 3 things here. You might have a primary goal, which might be kind of income surrounding. And then you might have some secondary goals, which, are linked to your core brand values and what you want to do as a business. And like I said earlier, your job then is to take those business goals and start to think about how you can turn them into specific social media goals. And all of these social objectives should feed into what you want to achieve as a business. Really, really important. Now we have the 4D framework in front of you here: discover, define, develop, and deliver. If you take that business goal that I can see a couple of you are sharing there in the chat, and start to think about one social platform that you're currently active on, can you create a social goal or a digital marketing goal? Because this can expand to your other channels, ads, emails. Doesn't necessarily just have to revolve around your socials, but sticking with social because that's what we're talking about today. Can you translate that business goal into a social goal that's going to help feed what you want to achieve? So the first step you've done. You've discovered what the goal is. Can you explain how that goal will help your business? That's part of discover. I want to achieve this by this date, and it's going to add this value to my business. The next step is define. This is a really interesting step, because what we do here is we start to identify anything that's going to get in the way of us achieving this goal. Maybe it's budget, maybe it's time, maybe it's an external factor that we've got to kind of really troubleshoot and think of how we can get around it, which is step 3, develop. What resources do we need to achieve the goals that we're setting out for ourselves? So at this point, we know what our goal is, we've started to identify those barriers, and we've understood the resources that we need in place in order to achieve that. So deliver is working out how to get around any of those barriers and achieve the thing we've set out to achieve. So try and use some of these kind of frameworks. The 4D framework can really allow you to think through each goal and start to, even if you're kind of scribble on a piece of paper kind of person, you can just get out the list. Right, what do I think is going to get in my way? What do I think I need? Right, okay, so my next step is to do this. What action? The deliver is key. What action can you take? Step 3 of your social media strategy: choosing the channels. Now, I already mentioned how many of you are on more than 2 channels. Really, really, really important. Are you focusing on selling to customers, so consumers directly, or are you a business to business? You're looking at engaging with other businesses. That's really starting to think about, am I business focused? Am I lifestyle focused? How am I looking to connect here on these platforms? If you are just getting started, you're a brand new business, and maybe you're a one-man band as well, one-woman band, start with one, test it, learn it. You can always add another one. Start to come back to step 1 of the strategy, your audience. Where are that primary audience hanging out online? What platform are you going to most likely find them on? Different channels. Every single platform that you open for your business needs its own strategy. And now when I delivered this session face to face and I could see people's faces, often I'll say here, how many of you have a Facebook and an Instagram page? Post on your Instagram and just automatically share to Facebook. And I always get a few people like, yeah, that's me. I'm so sorry. No. Come back to your audience. Come back to what we talked about. Think of your own experience. When you're flicking through Facebook, what are you looking for? What kind of things do you like? What kind of things do you share? What kind of things do you allow to grasp your attention? And then sort of observe yourself on something like Instagram. Are you looking for the same thing? Nope. So why, as a business owner, do you think that posting exactly the same post that you posted to Instagram just automatically over to Facebook, why do you think that's going to drive you any positive results? It's not. So every single platform that you open, if you can't answer the question, why am I here for my business? Why are you there? Because all you're doing is spreading yourself so thin that, remember that resource we talked about, time, the resource we never get back, but we still have to spend it. We're spreading even that resource out so thinly that, are we really posting consistent quality on the platforms that could be driving a lot of traffic for us? So thinking about some of the most common platforms, and we are missing a few in this list, but Twitter. Thinking about what you can do with Twitter, controversial at the moment, but starting to think about the quickness of it, the conversational, we can use those polls, we can have a pinned tweet. So we've got something that can be always at the top of our profile, which has become a feature across other places as well. We can create threads, so it's very conversational. It's also very quick. The average lifespan of a singular tweet is about 7 seconds. So if you're a business owner with not a lot of time, maybe Twitter's not the place for you to be, because it is a double-edged sword, right? It is like although we've got to think of the platforms that are best for our audience, but we also have to be able to manage that in a way that's going to work. So sometimes Twitter moves a lot faster than what a business wants to be posting, so it might not be the platform for you. Facebook. I love a good Facebook business page. Even though I don't spend a lot of time on there socially, I do like to check out a business page on Facebook. There's just so much room for information. You know, you've got the about you, you've got the video, the images. We can have that call to action button, opening times, contact details. We can kind of cross pollinate if we do have other platforms. So say if I've got a YouTube channel or an Instagram, I can kind of put those links in there as well and allow people to move freely between platforms. So there's a lot of information that we can add to a Facebook business page. Instagram, telling our story through mostly images on our grid, but also video, this short form video that's taking over a lot of our social time. But again, it's still very visual. High quality images. You know, we want to be able to connect and showcase what we do, and often in quite creative ways. Even if we're using trends and trending sounds, we're sharing that business in photographs and videos. LinkedIn, business to business, majority there. Or you can also have a LinkedIn as an individual, as a professional. So maybe you want to have rather than a business page, which you can have an individual page, a personal you, but you can also build a business page just like you can on something like Facebook, where you can talk about anything that you're doing as a brand in that authoritative voice of your industry. You can create quite long form content. There's the opportunity to create things like articles that piece together, like almost like blogs, intricate blogs that kind of piece together and link together in different topics. Really, really interesting place to be on LinkedIn, actually, in terms of business and learning. There's a lot of thought leadership and kind of thought-provoking content on LinkedIn that might help you as an individual really start to build your brand around your industry. So starting to think again, is this something that works for you? We have YouTube, second biggest search engine in the world next to Google, but also a really collaborative and social platform. Now you can show anything. We've got YouTube Shorts, we've got long form videos, short form, you can create a series. So again, a really creative way for you as a business to be able to communicate with an audience base. Collect comments, have a conversation in those comments with your audience. And it also does have its own set of insights. So a lot of people kind of discard YouTube in that social bracket, but it is a platform that is very, very social, as well as being used as a search engine. Now, I said there was a couple missing, but TikTok, again, being used as a direct search engine, right? People are there looking to actively search for topics, trending news, products, but a way that you can start to share content around your business. So really, really interesting when it comes to choosing a platform. And it's interesting when it comes to choosing the platforms that are right for you. It can be really easy to go, oh yeah, but this person might be here, and oh, we need to get on this because. But really, before you open those platforms, sit down, look at the steps of your strategy. So the audience, what you're trying to achieve, before you come and think, right, okay, these are the platforms that are going to be where we start. And come back to that question. If you can't tell someone clearly why you're on that platform, why are you there? Step 4 of your strategy, your brand guidelines. Anybody out there that's using Canva, now if you're a graphic designer, I apologize, but for a template on brand guidelines, there are presentation templates in Canva. If you type in brand guidelines, there's some really good ones actually that will give you some ideas of things to include in your set of brand guidelines. Can you start to think about the details of your brand? Now, again, what's really common and what I find when I work with multiple business owners is that their business and what they do in their socials sits here. But when it comes to bringing someone on board and expanding their business, it's really, really difficult for them to get someone on board that's going to post what they want, how they want, in the personality and brand that they want, because it's all based up here and it's all based on that business owner. So can you physically get it out on a piece of paper or in a document? How you use your logo? When you're thinking of tone of voice, can you start to describe exactly who that person would be if they were walking down the street? Do you have any do's? Do you have any don'ts? And that goes for language. Maybe there's specific words that you really just don't want associated with your brand. Stick them in a don't box. So I did a campaign years ago, and they had a physical green board and a physical red board on the wall in this marketing room in the office with competitor phrases written in the don't, particular words, then also things like and it was an Easter campaign, so they'd written out sort of phrases like hop to and then the brand, and had written things that they positively wanted to use during the campaigns. And also include in this the style of images. So thinking about if you are using any form of filter, exactly how are you creating those filters and those images so that it's immediately recognizable when someone catches a view of those images. Make clear decisions. Do you want them to be friendly, provocative, fun, serious, formal, casual? Now, you don't have to have one tone of voice, but what is your overarching voice, and then what are your supporting personality traits for your business? A really good campaign to look at actually is the This Girl Can campaign. They do this really well, down to the images. You can see like the focus is the woman, the blurry background depending on what they're doing, the way they use the font, the placement of the logo, the personality. Under these gloves is a beautiful manicure. I also know the offside rule. Sweating like a pig, feeling like a fox. So the tonality of everything they do is also really consistent. So a really great campaign. And I'm sure Benedict can pop the link to the This Girl website into the chat so you can go and check out what they're doing. Because they've actually released a more recent campaign over the last year as well. So step 5 of your strategy is to define what success looks like to you. This is where we come to measuring. Are you looking for sales, traffic, influencers? Are you looking to raise that customer service, like the star ratings or the most positive reviews that you get? Or are you looking for brand awareness, reach, how many mentions you get across different platforms? Sometimes on different platforms, or a lot of times, it's definitely worth having in the back of your mind to consider paying. Organic reach is only going to take you so far. And on certain platforms, it's actually really simple to pay a little bit extra to start to reach more customers. Now, different platforms have different starting rates and kind of minimal spends. So definitely do your research around them. But it is going to be going to allow you and open doors to reaching a bigger audience. It is important across any platform that you are a part of. And it's especially important if you're looking at your goal being sales or growth based. So putting that all together, who's your audience? What are your goals? Which platforms are you going to choose to produce consistent quality? Who is your brand? And what does success look like for your business? Super, super important. Now, I've seen loads of messages coming through, but there's no specific questions, and I can see Benedict is definitely handling that. But I did see one comment come through from Claire saying, I need to work on face-to-camera content. Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? The difference between content that is sort of nobody's face, even with a voiceover, to how much reach sort of a conversational video can get. It's really interesting, and definitely worth it for a lot of business owners to not be scared to get their face in front of the camera. So we've got about 5 minutes left together, and I want to wrap up by giving you some best practices and a couple of tools and things that you can take forward with you. Your social channels are often public, and we talked about those oopsie posts, but sometimes one of the struggles that we have is the type of content. Now, actually, there's loads of different types of posts that we can share. And the way I kind of usually phrase this in a real life scenario is we don't want to be, imagine you're walking up the high street, you're carrying loads of shopping bags, you're tired, you've been out all day, and you come across the person with a lanyard and a clipboard. What do you do? Tell me in the chat and I'll come back to you. What do you do to that person that's in the street trying to get you to stop with their lanyard on and their clipboard in their hand? And I'll come back to that in a second when I see some people commenting. What do you do? In terms of the type of content, though, we can create announcements. Maybe you've got new products, new services, new partners. These behind the scenes pieces of content do really, really well, given a bit of personality. Maybe you've got product or brand related tips and tricks videos, seasonal content, reoccurring. Maybe you're looking to take someone on and you've got something that's more operational. Or maybe you're using a platform that allows you to respond. I mean, TikTok, you can respond in the comments with a video, so you can actually have that conversation with the comments. I've usually got something really important to do at that point, and I feel really awful as they're just doing their job, but they can often be so pushy, right? So when we think about the type of content on our social media, we don't want to be the person with a clipboard and a lanyard equivalent on social media. So starting to think about spreading that content out. That kind of 80-20 split of 20% of that being sales, promotion based, and 80% of that looking at what's worth sharing, what's going to delight our customers, what's going to create this community. And when it comes to actually sharing content, have you got a way of creating great graphics? Now, we've mentioned Canva as a really good tool, but if you are someone that has more advanced skills and you want to use Photoshop or Illustrator, can you start to do that? You don't have to be a graphic designer, but starting to think about how you can create that. Have you checked your grammar? Tools like Grammarly, and again, I'm sure Benedict will pop these into the chat for you, can be great for helping you manage not just spell checking, but also checking the grammatical sense of sentences so that it makes sense. And then starting to think, if you've got more than one platform, how are you going to manage that? Now, if you're using Facebook and Instagram, you can use that in Meta Business Suite. But you might want to implement a tool like Buffer or Hootsuite to actually pre-schedule posts and start to manage your posts in a third-party platform. So this brings us to the end. We've covered a lot. It brings us to the end and starting to think about what you can do as an actionable after this session. Set goals. Make sure you understand exactly why you're there. Start to define who you are as a brand, as if you were a person. What is the brand's personality? Who are you trying to target to? And have you made a conscious choice on the type of content you're going to post so you're not that person with a clipboard in the street? And choose the right platforms. Remember, you don't have to be on all of them. It's about being in the relevant places consistently with quality content. Really, really important. Which brings us to my final pausing for questions. And I can see Benedict sharing all of those great links in the chat for you. If there are no questions, I'd like to wrap up and say thank you so much for joining us today. And I do hope that you've taken some nice tips and tools and best practices to get going with your social media. Please do remember we have that fantastic opportunity for those of you based in the UK to really book in and work with us as a sole trader, small business, a charity. G.co/UK mentoring. It's 1 hour with a mentor. It's free, no charge, and you can have more than one as well. So if you want a follow-up session, you can also do that, and they're really great sessions to be a part of as well. Other than that, we'd love to hear your feedback. goo.gov/digital garage feedback if you do have anything to tell us on anything else we can be doing to help enrich these sessions. And if you are talking about us online, as always, please use our hashtag digital garage so we can keep up to date with what you're doing after these sessions. Other than that, thank you very much. And I hope, again, that this has been a useful dive into social media strategy and anything you can do around creating that clear plan of action. Have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to welcoming you to many more Google Digital Garage training sessions in the future. See you later.